Are you excited about learning networking, but you don't have a bunch of network devices to practice with? So we have many options. We can use network simulators such as GNS3 or even G. Those are free versions that we have available. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to install GNS3, but beyond that, I'm gonna show you how to upload images for Mikrotik devices and how to get connection from your host machine to those virtual devices. That means that we can build complex topologies using only a single machine, and we don't need hardware anymore. Let's get started and go to the lab. One of the most complex activities that we can face when installing network simulators is to get access from our host machine to the virtual machines that we are adding to the topology in this virtual environment. So today we are going to use the last version of GNS3 available, and then we need to add some Mikrotik images on it to finally get access from our local Windows system, in this case, to all those virtual routers. To start, we need to install a software to run our virtual environment, and that is going to be a hypervisor. In this case, I'm going to use VMware Workstation Player. On the browser, I'll search for VMware Workstation Player. So you can see here that the first result came up, and then I'm going to that link. So I'm going down here in this website, and then we can see try Workstation Player for Windows, and also we have a version for Linux. So I'm using Windows, so I will click here to download this software now. It's just 200 megabytes in size. In a new tab, I'm going to GNS3. So this is the software, the network simulator that we are trying to install. So I will type GNS3, and then I have the website GNS3. So I'm going here, and you can see that I have free download. So I click on that green button, and then I have a version for Windows, Mac, and Linux. I won't download any of those. I need to install the virtual machine. So I will click on download the GNS VM. So I need that version, and then I need to choose the hypervisor. In my case, I'm using VMware Workstation, so I will go with the second option. And this is going to download this zip file containing the image for that virtual machine. So this has started, and you can see that this is about 6 or almost 700 megabytes in size. So now, as a second step, I will install VMware Workstation Player. I'll click on the installer, and then I'm going to say yes to this. Just be aware that when installing VMware Workstation, this software is going to add some new network interfaces to your local computer. So that's completely normal. Don't worry about it. So this is the installer. I will follow this wizard, accepting everything. Then I click on next, then next again. I won't join the VM customer experience, then next, next, and install. This process is very straightforward. So I only need to wait a few seconds. The installation process for VMware Workstation takes just a few seconds. Now it's just waiting for us, and we can create or import VMs like the one that we had just gotten from GNS3. So I'm going to click here on finish. We can search for VMware Workstation Player, open it up. We're going to select the first option here. This is for non-commercial use. Then we can click on continue and finish. And this is showing the VMware Workstation control panel. You can see here that I have a lot of VMs created. In your case, this will be empty. And now we are ready to install GNS3. Simply, we need to import the VM that we have just downloaded from the official GNS3 website. So I will extract this file, since this is a zip file. And you can see here that I have the .oba file. So I will move that file to the network trip. So I have that over here. Now this file is being extracted. Then we can go to VMware. So once this file has been copied to my local directory, then I can go back to VMware Workstation Player and I can click here on open a virtual machine. I will click in that option, and now we need to look for the file that we have just extracted. So here we have GNS3 VM.oba. Then we can open that file. Now we have this wizard for importing that machine. So we can change the name or we can keep that name as it is. So now this file is being imported into VMware Workstation Player. Before starting this machine, we need to change, to modify, to customize the settings. So I will click here on Edit Virtual Machine Settings. So there are some options that we can improve here from the default configuration, and you can adjust these to the characteristics of your physical host machine. So for example, in my case on memory, this has just 2 GB. So I will increase that to, for example, 8 GB. This amount must be less than the total RAM that you have available in your physical machine. Then we can assign some processors to this machine. So I will assign 2 of them. Requirement to use VMware on your computer is to have the virtualization enabled in your BIOS, in your system. So you need to check that if you get any error. Then we can change the network adapter. I will modify the second one. Now has NAT enabled, but I want this as a bridge. In that mode, this VM is going to allow direct connection from my local network to that virtual interface. So I will change this to bridge, and then I can select here on configure adapters which physical interface in my computer is going to be bridged with that. In my case, I'm only going to keep selected the interface that my computer is using to get access to my local area network. So in this case, it's the gigabit Ethernet interface. And then that's all that we need. So I can finish with this window, then I press OK, and now we are ready. So let's try it. Let's see if this is going to work. So I will play the virtual machine. So it's going to boot it up, the operating system. So you get this option. You can install tools for Linux if you want. So I will do it. That's a good feature that probably we are going to use in the future. So why not? Now GNS3 is booting, so you can see here some important information to verify. From this window, we can see general information about the service. One important field that we must check is the KVM support available. Then you can see that this is set to true. If you get that message as false, that means that you must check the virtualization on the BIOS and you have to enable that feature on it. Additionally, we can see information about the IP address that is using that VM. So you can see there the IP address, and then we can see the password that by default is GNS3, and also the username is the same GNS3. We can have access a web interface to be able to create network topologies. So the IP address is the one that you can see there, 192.168.237.128. So I will go to my browser over here, and then I will type that IP address. So let's see, 192.168.237.128. Now we can press enter, and bada boom. You can see we have GNS3 ready in our local machine. So we can see here servers. You can see that we have one server. We can go to that server, and then we can create a new project. So let's create our first project here. So I will say my first GNS3 lab, and then we can add a project, and you can see we have a very cool, good looking interface on GNS3 VM server. So we have many options over here. For example, we can add nodes. By default, we have some PCs. Let's try that. Let's see how we can add nodes to this virtual environment. So now we can click here on add a node, and then you can see some devices that are included by default. So we have VPCs, this is virtual PCs. So I will add 2 of them. So we can add an Ethernet switch as well, for example. Then we can create a link. We need to click here on add a link. and we can click on the switch, we select the interface, and then we can click on the PC. We can add a second link. So now we can start all these devices. Now we can start those network devices by right-clicking on them and then click on start, or we can start all of them with just one click if we click on this play button on the main menu. So you can see that now we have a working switch and we have two virtual PCs on our topology. So I will add some IP addresses on these devices. We have access via console to this device. So I can go to the web console and you can see that I have access to that PC. So I can set an IP address, like for example 10.0.0.1, and then a subnet mask. And I can do the same in the second PC, right click, web console. And then here we have in a new tab, this is very cool. So you can see that all the devices are open in a different embedded tab in the same window. I'll add a new address to the second PC, 10.0.0.2, and then the subnet mask. And that means that now I have two PCs with an IP address configured on them, and we can try the network connectivity between those. So I will try to ping the PC number 1. And you can see that we have reply from that device. That means that everything is working properly at this point. So we have VMware Workstation Player installed. We have the GNS3 server VM running on that hypervisor. And then we have some default nodes that we can add here in this topology. But how can we import images from different vendors? So if we want to add Mikrotik images or Cisco images or Fortinet images. So how can we do that? In this video, I'm going to show you how to add Mikrotik images. So I'm going to the Mikrotik's official website. That's mikrotik.com. And then we can go to this section here, software. And if we go all the way down, we can look for this section, Cloud Hosted Router. So you can see here that we have many options, but we need to choose the one that says raw disk image. So there are multiple versions. We're going to look for the stable version, but if you want to download any of the other ones, it's going to work in the same way. So you can follow the same process. So I'm going to click here on this button, and this is going to download the Mikrotik image. So this is also a compressed file because we can see here the .zip extension. So this is around 30 megabytes in size. So we need to wait just a few seconds and then we can extract that file. We have the .img file, then we can extract that file. I will copy that one to the network trip directory. Now I'm back on GNS3 Lab. We can open the main menu for GNS3 by clicking on the software's icon. So here we have many options. So we need to get into this one, go to preferences. So if I click in go to preferences, now this is telling me that it's going to close all the open consoles. Yes, I want to continue. So from here we need to specify the type of image that we need to import. So in our case, we need to import the one qemu. So I will select that one. And you can see here that we can add what is called qemu VM template. But what is this thing of qemu? Simply this stands for Quick Emulator. It's an open source project that supports hardware virtualization. So we need to take advantage of that. So we need to add a new template. So we click here on this green button and then we are going to run this locally. Then we need to set a name. So I will call that one Mikrotik 6-48-2. So this is the version number. So you can call it just Mikrotik if you want. That's up to you. Then we need to specify the image that we have just downloaded from Mikrotik. Then I will click here on this image and then we can click on new image. Now we need to look for the file that we have just downloaded from Mikrotik website, then browse, and then we can go directly to that folder. So you can see here that I don't see anything, but because the default extension is .qcow2, but in this case we need to change that to all files, Now we have this file there. So I will select the .img file and I will click open. So you can see that now I have everything I need and I can add a template. So we just click on add a template and that's it. We have one qemu template ready waiting for us. Now we need to customize this template. I will click on it and then we can add some additional configuration. So I'm going to general settings and we can check there that we have the template name, we have the default RAM that this image is going to use, and also the way how we are going to access. By default is telnet, so I will keep that information as is. Then I can go here to network, and there we can specify the number of adapters, or in this case interfaces, that this device is going to have. So I will change that to 10. Something else that probably we can change is the icon. We can look for a good looking icon. So we can do that on general settings. So if I go to general settings, you can see here symbol. So we can choose a different symbol. So you can see there are many built-in icons available. So I will look for one of them. So we can just type here router, for example, and then you see many icons that we can use for layer 3 devices like routers. So I will select this one and then choose symbol. Now that symbol has been changed. If I go back, I can press here on save and you can see change save. So I can go back to my project. Now I have one Mikrotik template that we can use to add multiple devices. So if I go to add a node, then you can see here that I have Mikrotik 648.2. We can add many of them. So you need 3, you need 10, you need 20, you can do it. The limit is the physical resources that your computer has. So you have more devices, this is going to take more RAM and CPU. So in this case, I add in 3 routers and we can start one of them. And I can go to web console. You can see that this device is starting. So we have router OS booting. Router OS has booted and now it's asking for the default information. As we know, the default username is admin and the password is empty. So I just need to press enter. I'm not going to accept the software license now. You can see that I have a functional Mikrotik router OS working here. So we can type any type of commands like the ones that you already know about Mikrotik. If you are new with the Mikrotik world, remember that every week we are uploading new videos about Mikrotik devices. So I will remove these 2 routers over here. So I just select them and press delete. I will delete the second one. You can see that I have a router now. So I can simply connect, for example, the router to this switch. And now we have a router, we have a switch, and we have 2 PCs over there. But how can we have access to those devices from our Windows system? That means, for example, if I have my Windows here, how can I access those devices by using this graphical interface? So to do that, I need to add a new node that is called cloud. So I will add that one to my topology. Then I simply need to connect this router to that cloud. And this is going to allow access from our local Windows system. So you can see here that now I have the CHR, and this is exactly that device that you see in the topology. I can click on the MAC address and then connect, and this is going to give me access to this virtual device. If I go to system, then identity, I can set a name, for example, Mikrotik GNS3. Okay, I can go to the console in the device and I will check the system identity. So I will type system identity print, and you can see that the name is MTGNS3. That means that now I can manage all those routers just from inside my host operating system, that's Windows in my case. But what happens if I have a second router? So I will add a new node here. Let's say this is going to be the second router. Then I will connect the router one to each other. So you can see there those two routers. I will start the second one. Mikrotik has a protocol that is called Roman that allows to access devices that are connected directly by using the MAC address. So in this way, we have IP connectivity to this device. We can have access to the second one by using Roman. We can have routers in that topology, but still we are going to be able to reach internal devices that still doesn't have an IP address configured on them. So I'm going to the web console and I will enable Roman. So I will say admin, enter, then N, and I will change the system identity by saying system identity set name R2. For example, this is just to change the host name for the device. And now I'm going to enable Roman. We need to type tool, then Roman set enable equal yes. That's all that we need. Then I can go to the first router and I will go to the root just by typing the / and then enter. And now I can enable Roman here as well. So tool Roman set enable equal yes. And now if we go back to our Windows operating system, we can open a new Winbox. And then if we click on this C#, remember that one is the one that we are directly connected to. So the first one, then we only need to select the MAC address and then connect to Roman. After getting connected to Roman, you will see there R2. Now I can click on the connect button and I have access to those two devices. So this is how we can interact with those Mikrotik devices inside GNS3. I hope that this has been useful for you and you enjoyed the content. Please like the video. Now we are ready to create small and big topologies by using multiple network devices. Thank you very much for your attention and I see you in the next one.